Okay, so now that you're in a conference, here are some controls that you should be aware of. First thing, most important thing, is if you're using the console for your meeting, do not use these cables in any way, shape, or form. These are two different functionalities of the room. Now looking at the console, there's some buttons. Let's walk through these buttons real quick. Number one, mute. If you don't want the person on the far end to hear you, then hit the mute button. If you do want them to hear you, unmute yourself and they'll hear you on the far end. If I can't hear you comes across the far end, you're probably on mute. The next button is kind of a mute video. It says stop video. So by clicking that, you can see that the camera will stop sending the video to the far end. And by clicking it again, it'll reinitiate the video so that they can see what's going on in the room. The third button is pretty important. This is the share content button. So by clicking this button, it gives you the ability to connect your computer, whether it's Mac or PC, or a mobile device, and share maybe a PowerPoint, an Excel sheet, a Word document, or something into the meeting. And there's instructions here on the screen saying if you've got the Zoom app, what do? You click the share button, add the sharing key. If you don't have the Zoom app, go to your browser, punch in the URL share.zoom.us and add your meeting ID, and you will be able to share it into your meeting. Additional to those buttons, you're going to see things like change view. If you have multiple participants, you can organize the view in a couple of different ways. You've got also a camera control button. So most of these cameras do auto tracking and auto framing. If you don't like that feature, you can turn that off or turn it on based on what your preference is. There's also a start recording button. That button is going to allow you to record the conference if you're the organizer. If you're not the organizer, you may not have the ability to start recording. That would be somebody else's responsibility. And then there's a chat button. If there's anybody that's chatting using the instant messaging functionality of the room, they're going to use this functionality to showcase it. If you hit the little settings icon in the top right, you can actually show the notifications on the screen, and you can show the chat panel full-time on the screen if that's what you prefer. Last two buttons, the volume slider. So if you want to hear what's going on a little bit louder, a little softer, you just slide the volume up and down. And finally, when you're done with your meeting, you can hit the leave button, hit it again, and it'll disconnect you from the call.